Communicative Rationality by Chelsea Martinez and Natalie Kay. Alrighty, we are here to teach everyone about communicative rationality. We know it can be super confusing, but we want to make sure that we all know what we are talking about when it comes to communicative rationality. So let's get started. Just to give you a little overview of what we're going to be discussing, we're going to go into Jurgen Advanas and a background on his life. We are going to go into communicative rationality, and we're going to end it with a mnemonic device to help you all for the exam. Jurgen Advanas was born June 18, 1929 in Germany. He was the most important German philosopher of the second half of the 20th century. He was a highly influential social and political thinker. He was generally identified with the critical social theory developed from the 1920s by the Institute for Social Research in Germany. He was prominent both outside academic circles for his influential contributions to social criticism and public debate, and within them for his essays in which he fashioned a comprehensive vision of modern society and the possibility of freedom within it. His work powerfully influenced many disciplines, including communication studies, philosophy, political science, and democratic theory. He thought mass media, relativism, and irrationalism were all evil and destructive. His theory is devoted to rationality and its relation with communication. His renowned work includes the notion of morality in relation to rationalization theory. He situates rationality as a capacity inherent within language, especially in the form of argumentation.
Communicative rationality is self-reflexive and open to a dialogue in which participants in an argument can learn from others and from themselves by reflecting upon their premises and thematizing aspects of their cultural background knowledge to question suppositions that typically go without question. Habermas states that for people to communicate and to understand each other, they must have mutual understandings, as in understanding language. Example, if people don't speak the same language, it is harder to understand each other. Habermas stressed on the fact that all humans are intuitively capable of reaching to mutually agreed conclusions through speech. Habermas wanted us to strive to change this inherent know-how into crystal clear knowledge on how to conduct ourselves ethically in the field of practical rationality. He argued that the use of language with an orientation of understanding is the original mode of language. He also used the public sphere to explain this concept. For Habermas, a public sphere is made up of an individual's class, the state of affairs, and their religion. This all comes together to help establish what individuals have as their worldview, and thus how they determine what is going on outside of the sphere in different situations. For a mnemonic device, we want you to think of getting frozen yogurt, and in this case, the frozen yogurt will be your sphere. Your toppings will be your class, state of affairs, and religion, and you get all of those based on your preferences and experiences, and they help you differentiate your worldview from other people's worldviews. After you get your frozen yogurt made up of your class, state of affairs, and religion, and in this case, for example, your toppings, you're going to put it in the freezer because you have a little bit left over. This will help you keep your frozen yogurt in line with your truths and your environment, and in this case, the freezer, so it doesn't melt, so it stays true to you. So for the test, just remember that your frozen yogurt is an example of your public sphere, and it's topped with your class, state of affairs, and religion. And to find your truths and to find rationality in the world outside of your truths, you would put your frozen yogurt in the freezer because that's the proper rational place for it to find your truths. Today we discussed Habermas and his theory of communicative rationality. For that people communicate to understand each other, they must have mutual understandings. We also gave you a mnemonic device with frozen yogurt to help you remember and do well for the test. Thank you.
Created using Powtoon.